the worst middle grade books that I read in 2022. I actually read 22 middle grade books in 2022. Most of them were good, but some of them were not. Here they are. These are the ones that are not worth your time. Most of these books are more on the disappointing side of things than actually bad, but I do have some bad ones, which I'm saving until the end of the video. So first, we're gonna start with the first very disappointing middle grade book, and that is Dealing with Dragons. This book was fine. It was kind of fun to read. I enjoyed the characters. The plot was a mess. We didn't actually resolve the plot in book one, and from the author's note, this was supposed to be a standalone. She never intended to write any more books in the series, so I'm not sure why we didn't actually resolve any of the issues in book one. Secondly, this is a world where magic can do anything you want it to do, which is sort of a problem when we don't set up the magic that we are going to use to solve problems in the story. It was kind of a mess. I thought I enjoyed it enough to continue, but I picked up the second book and realized that I didn't actually care very much. So I DNF'd this series. I read Dealing with Dragons, but I DNF'd the series and I'm moving on with life. The second one is The Case of the Left-Handed Lady, which is the second book in the Enola Holmes series. The biggest problem with this one is I don't understand the mystery. Like, if you use the wrong hand, then you can like become a different person and have your being taken over by someone. It's confusing. Also, the mystery just felt weak and uninteresting compared to the other things in the story. The things that I like about the Enola Holmes series is the dysfunctional Holmes family. This book had that and I enjoyed that. That was the best part of the book. But the mystery was just kind of okay, I guess. It did put me off reading the rest of the books in this series. I am planning to continue the series. I just decided to delay it because I didn't feel like diving into the next book right away after a fairly disappointing second book. The next one on the list is a little bit of a surprise because I've been praising the Wings of Fire series so far, but the Wings of Fire series is not without its disappointments. And the most disappointing book in the Wings of Fire series is Book 10, The Darkness of Dragons. So the problem with book 10 isn't necessarily with the entire book, but with the resolution to the conflict of the entire second arc. The second arc is a little bit messier than the first arc. Whenever you're reading the first arc, you can tell that this was planned out since book one. The author knew exactly where she was going with the story, and I really appreciate that. The second arc did not feel that way. We have some surprising protagonists in the second arc, and we just have a little bit messier story and an antagonist that's basically invincible. The problem with invincible antagonists is you still have to defeat them by the end of the story. So we end up using evil magic that we've been stating is horrible and no one should ever use against the antagonist in order to defeat him. It is very confusing, particularly when, like, during the whole climactic thing, some of the protagonist characters are, like, horrified at the magic usage of the antagonist, and then we turn around and use that same magic, but it's fine, it's good, it's played as, like, a good thing. I don't know, it was weird, it was messy. I just really didn't like the resolution. I'm hoping that the third arc is better. And now for the truly terrible, awful books, that is The Captive Kingdom and The Shattered Castle. These books should not have been written. The problem with these books is these are books 4 and 5 in the Ascendance trilogy, which is now a series. Yeah, that's the problem. So the Ascendance trilogy was written and concluded, and everything in the Ascendance trilogy arc made sense. And then, years later, we get 2 additional books in the series that recon several things that happen in the Ascendance trilogy and kind of rewind character arcs. So characters have to go through those same character building arcs again. It just didn't work. So the books themselves are not terrible, but they should not have been written with the protagonists that they were. Like, if you wanted to write these books with these stories, Make it a spin-off series with other characters in the same world. There's no reason that we needed to use the same protagonist in the same world that was already concluded and like rewind a bunch of stuff and then tell another story. There's no need for that. So read The Captive Kingdom, and I had my problems with it, but I wanted to finish out the series. So I read The Shattered Castle, and by reading, I mean I listened to the audiobook while I was sick. So I was sick in bed, not feeling good, listening to this audiobook, drifting in and out of sleep. And every time I woke up and realized I had drifted off and I missed some of the story, I did not rewind it because I didn't care and didn't feel like I missed that much. So I actually don't have The Shattered Castle listed on my Goodreads books that I read this year because I don't know if I technically finished The Shattered Castle, but I heard enough of it not to care. That is how bad these books were. 'Tis unfortunate because I quite enjoyed the first books in this series. It is a Descendants trilogy. It's a trilogy. There's no other books. No other books exist. There you have it, the worst middle grade books that I read in 2022. If you've made it this far in the video, leave a broken heart emoji because I wish these were all good books. I don't want to read bad books. I want to read good books. So leave a broken heart emoji and let me know what the worst books were that you read this year.